Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So this one is a little bit more serious, but I went to rehab in October and I wanted to talk about my experience because at this point I find it more therapeutic than stressful to share. I had never been in a facility like this, and what led me to go there was that I had a lot of, I'd rather not say where I was working, but I will say that it was very stressful and I had a breakdown, and I did get the professional help that I needed, and I'm really glad that I did. And some of the things that were a shock to me were that I couldn't have shoelaces. We didn't have floss there. That was a bit of a culture shock when I first got there. Wasn't allowed to have a cell phone, but I think that's good. I think some of the things that I really appreciated about being in this facility, like the positive things about it, was they really enforced me taking medication and they cared about me getting better, like talking to a psychiatrist and doctors about what would be best for me going forward, and coping skills, self-care, all that stuff. But the hardest part was definitely being away from my family and being disconnected from the world. But in some ways that was kind of good because I read a lot, like in the free time that I did have. And I met some very interesting people from different walks of life there, so that was good. Being on a schedule was a little tough. I had to go, we had breakfast, lunch, dinner, and lunch and dinner weren't so hard. The morning part was going to breakfast, but it was nice. I will say I wouldn't call it like a vacation, but I do think that it was nice that I didn't have to do my dishes or cook or worry about those things either. So it was nice it was built in, but they were strict about I had to, be at certain places, certain times, and I had to go to group therapy every day, like twice a day, and talk about those things like coping skills and how we're doing, the importance of setting boundaries in our life and that kind of thing. Yeah, and there were some people, I think, that, their situation was more serious or different, but I think it did kind of give me a perspective, so that's good. And something I liked in the evening was that we would listen to music sometimes and dance within our lounge. I mean, that was, yeah, like after dinner. I think one of the biggest things that shocked me, though, is that we actually did have smoking breaks. The main reason I went out for that, though, is not because I smoke, but because I wanted to get fresh air as well. And I was there for 10 days, and people did advise me, if I wanted to get out in a timely manner and not be there for like 2 or 3 weeks, then I need to take my medication every day, which I did. Make sure that I'm going to all my group therapy appointments, which I did, which were twice a day. And something else I really liked, though, is that they enforced bedtime, which I know might sound crazy, but I do. I think we had to have lights out quiet at 10, so that was nice. And there were some people there who said, that they kind of liked being in the moment and not having too many responsibilities. We did have to have supervision, though, for everywhere we went, so that was a little bit crazy. I didn't finish it, but I got close to finishing. I finished it when I came home, but I was reading a murder mystery book about a maid. And I used to work in a hotel, and my brother brought me a bunch of books, and I was very glad that my family was very supportive. So my mom and my brother came to visit me one day, and then my brother and my aunt and my husband came to see me like the first few days during visiting hours, which I believe were like 1 to 3 or something. Like I said, it was kind of strict, but yeah, and that was in the cafeteria, and it was really nice to be able to see my family at least. I was allowed to talk on like a old school telephone. Like I usually did that in the evening, I called my cousin and my brother and my mom and my sister. My sister did end up moving to Philadelphia, which I'm happy for her. She's starting a new life. And I did see her. I saw them the day I was released from rehab. It was nice. My brother and sister-in-law came and got me. And then my husband showed up and my stepdad was there. And yeah, I think it was really good. We were just, talking about ways to, I think, realize when, maybe hopefully things don't have to become that serious, getting professional help faster. But I think it's good to be vulnerable sometimes, and talk about my experiences. And, I've thought about writing a book a little bit more, not so much completely about my experience there, but kind of what led me there. But that is pretty personal, and I don't want to say anything too negative because it was difficult to leave that environment. And so, but yeah, I was in the hospital first, I will say that, and then they had to evaluate me to say that I needed to go to rehab. So that was really tough being away for those days. And then when I came back, I took the week off and I maxed out my paid days from the job that I had. I was able to do that, so that was nice. And I said I was resigning. And then now I'm working in a more behind the scenes type job, which is really nice. And it is a place I worked at the beginning of COVID for a few years. So it's about 3.5 years. So I just went back. So, and it's closer to home and everything, and there's pros and cons. So, but I'm grateful to be in something that I feel like is a better fit for me. So hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.